It's 6:35 in the morning. The sun hasn't risen yet over Tehran. The city is dark, except for the parts that are on fire. 5 days of Israeli airstrikes have turned parts of the Iranian capital into a smoldering ruin. Command posts, fuel depots, air defense batteries. One by one, they've been systematically erased from the map. And right now, high above all of that destruction, above the smoke columns and the burning wreckage and the chaos, a single Israeli pilot is about to make a decision that nobody authorized, nobody planned for, and nobody will fully understand until it's already over. A decision that will save an asset worth $10 million. A decision that will keep an entire strike wave operational. A decision that, if it goes wrong, ends with the most expensive fighter jet in the Israeli Air Force falling out of the sky over enemy territory. He makes it anyway. This is the full story of what happened over Tehran that morning. The technology, the tactics, the split-second decisions, and the invisible war happening miles above the burning city that almost nobody talks about. Let's get into it. Before we talk about what happened at 6:35 a.m., we need to understand how the situation got this bad in the first place. By day 5 of the conflict, the Israeli Air Force had been running around-the-clock strike operations against Iranian military infrastructure. This wasn't a few airstrikes. This was a coordinated, sustained air campaign. Dozens of aircraft, hundreds of sorties, carefully sequenced to degrade Iran's ability to fight back, while keeping Israeli losses as close to zero as possible. And for the most part, it was working. Iran's long-range radar networks had been hit hard in the opening hours. Their S-300 surface-to-air missile batteries, the backbone of their air defense, had been systematically targeted and destroyed. Their communication infrastructure was fragmented, but the Iranians weren't finished, not even close. Here's the thing about a military that's been preparing for this moment for decades. They don't keep all their eggs in one basket. While the Israelis were dismantling the visible fixed air defense network, Iran still had assets hidden, dispersed, and mobile. Short-range missile launchers shuffled between buildings every few hours. IRGC-operated manpad teams shoulder-fired missiles positioned on rooftops across the city, and most dangerously, fighter jets still flying. Not many, but some. And those pilots knew something the Israelis hadn't fully accounted for. To understand why this story matters, you need to visualize what the airspace over Tehran looked like that morning. Think of it like the world's most dangerous highway, except instead of lanes painted on asphalt, the lanes are invisible blocks of altitude carved up by computers at the CHAOK. That's the combined Hatzor Air Operations Center, essentially Israel's air traffic control for the entire war. Every aircraft in the strike wave had a corridor, a specific altitude range, a specific geographic box, a specific timing window. You fly in your box, you drop your bombs, you exit your box, the next aircraft comes in. The system works because everyone follows the rules. F-35 Adir squadrons running deep strike missions at medium altitude. F-15 IRAM jets working parallel tracks higher up, providing additional strike capability. Hermes, 900 drones orbiting at lower altitude, acting as the eyes of the entire operation, all of them invisible to each other on radar, because that's the entire point of operating stealth aircraft. All of them separated only by those invisible altitude blocks and timing windows. It's an extraordinarily complex choreography, and it works. Right up until someone breaks the pattern. 3 timers, all running at different speeds, all converging on the same answer. He had to act now, or the Hermes was dead. The ground targets on his strike list could wait. The Hermes couldn't, but here's what made this genuinely dangerous. And this is the part that doesn't get talked about enough. The Yak-130 itself wasn't what worried him. A subsonic advanced trainer going up against a fifth-generation stealth fighter is not a competitive engagement. The F-35 wins that fight before the Yak pilot even knows he's being engaged. What worried him was the doctrine surrounding the Yak-130. Iranian Air Force tactics, particularly in the early days of this conflict, involved pairing Yak-130s with MiG-29 Fulcrums. The Yak goes ahead. It's subsonic, it's relatively small on radar, and it provokes a response. The Fulcrum hangs back, radar off, running on its infrared search and track system, completely passive, completely invisible to electronic detection. The Yak is the fishing line. The Fulcrum is the hook. If an Israeli aircraft comes charging in to kill the Yak, it exposes itself. Hot engines, aggressive maneuvering, maybe an open weapons bay. The IRST picks up the bloom. The Fulcrum driver knows exactly where you are, and now the geometry works in his favor. This particular Yak appeared to be operating alone. Appeared to be. Before we get to the action, let's talk about the drone at the center of this story. Because without understanding what the Hermes 900 does, none of what follows makes sense. The Hermes 900 is built by Elbit Systems, one of Israel's largest defense contractors. It's a medium-altitude, long-endurance, unmanned aerial vehicle, 36 feet of wingspan, a payload capacity that lets it carry multiple sensor systems simultaneously, and crucially, an endurance of up to 30 hours. 30 hours. Think about that. It takes off, climbs to its patrol altitude, and it just stays there, orbiting in slow circles, sensors pointed at the ground, feeding a constant stream of real-time data back through satellite link to every aircraft and ground station in the network. It sees everything: troop movements, vehicle convoys, air defense positions, active radar emitters. All of it processed, tagged, and transmitted as targeting coordinates to the strike aircraft waiting for aim points. Without the Hermes, the F-35s and F-15 are flying partially blind. They have their own sensors, yes, but the Hermes provides the persistent, wide area picture that ties the whole operation together. $500 million in precision-guided munitions becomes dramatically less effective without someone telling the bombs exactly where to land. Now here's the other side of that equation. The Hermes 900 tops out at around 120 knots. That's roughly 140 miles per hour. It carries no weapons. It has no defensive systems, no radar warning receiver, no missile approach warning, nothing. It's essentially a very expensive, very capable flying sensor platform that cannot run and cannot fight. And on this particular morning, 6 miles ahead of an Iranian fighter jet, it had absolutely no idea it was about to be killed. Now let's talk about what the Israeli pilot's targeting system picked up on that EOS display. The Yakovlev Yak-130. NATO reporting name Mitten. Russia designed the Yak-130 as an advanced jet trainer, a bridge aircraft meant to take young pilots from basic flight training to the complexity of fourth-generation fighters like the Su-30 or MiG-29. It has 2 seats side by side, which is unusual for a trainer. It's highly maneuverable for its class. And it was specifically designed to simulate the handling characteristics of more advanced combat jets. Think of it as a learner's permit for fighter pilots. So what is it doing armed and hunting drones over Tehran?